Hello, welcome back to Steve's Corner. The problem with the Chinese spy balloon. I mean, what's the deal with this stuff to begin with? They shut down three over the weekend. Now they ain't telling you what they are. They ain't telling you if they come from China or not. I mean, they could have come from anybody in that direction. Russia, China, could have come from India, could have come from Japan, could have come from anywhere over that way. And but they ain't telling you none of that stuff. I don't know whether they know or not, and that's the spooky part about it. Either they don't know or they do know, and they don't want to cause panic in the country. You know, a lot of people don't know that Japan done that in the Second World War. They sent over fire bombs on balloons to catch the West Coast on fire because it was mostly wooded out that way back then. It wasn't as populated as it is now up in Oregon and Washington, some of the states out that way. And they had some limited success. They did catch some woods on fire and stuff, but nothing major. But there was one kid, there was a little boy, 7-year old, got killed by one. And I think that was in California. But all they did was put up them balloons and let the trade winds carry them across. They were smart enough to know that the trade winds are heading this way, so whatever they sent up is going to have to be over here. So I wasn't surprised to find out that China had sent one up. But what really spooks me about it is, well, where did Fauci fever start? It started over there in China, didn't it? I mean, who's to say them balloons ain't coming over here and spreading spores all across the U.S. of some kind? I mean, that's a possibility that you have when them things. And what got me was one of them over the weekend was a cylindrical object, and they said it had no means of propulsion or whatever. It just drifted along the trade winds, what it did. But I guess they mean it was not, you couldn't guide it up or down or sideways or nothing like that. But that's all it's doing is floating across the trade winds. But you have a cylindrical object like that. I mean, I ain't no conspiracy theory, but when you got an actual crazy lunatic like that leader over there in China, I mean, he, he's pretty much got a death wish on himself if he does something, and he's not worried about it. So you got somebody that crazy, you don't know. There's no telling what he'll do. So I mean, a biological weapon put in the air like that over the U.S. I mean, he probably don't even give that a second thought. That's a possibility you have with that stuff. That's why you got to get them before they get across our airspace. You don't let that thing drift across the country like that, all the way across the country. And it's floating up so high they can't get a good read on what it is. So they don't really know what it is. And last three, they really ain't got no idea. They don't know whether they were, or they ain't saying. They're not saying. And that's what gets me. That's the same thing that happened at the beginning of Fauci fever. You know, they put in them uh, face diapers and shots and stuff to get you to stop the country from being so concerned and getting all worked up over it. They had no proof any of it would work, but they wanted to stop the panic that was happening, and that's what it was. And for this year, for them not to tell you anything about it, I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards it might be something devastating. I don't know. I don't know. But now China come out today and said that we done seen at least 10 over there by the end of the since beginning of 23. And I was thinking about that. I don't know how you're going to do it unless you send it up from Europe. Then it's got to go all the way across Russia to get there. I just don't know how it would get there. I mean, you couldn't send a balloon up and it float that way from here. It's going to go east, especially when them high altitude balloons like that. It's going to get hooked up in the trade winds and be blown across to the east. And you got a lot of land to cover before you get to China between here and there. If you're going that way, but you can't believe nothing they say over yonder. You can't believe a darn thing they say over there. But I mean, you got North Korea over that way too. Who's to say they ain't jumping on the bandwagon doing that, trying to put them up to it? I don't know. That's the thing that gets me about it. And it seems like everybody has a different story about it. You know, you don't got no one clear voice coming from the top. And from what I hear tell, they hadn't even been telling the president for years about stuff floating across the U.S. It's almost like the military is running the place. I mean, he's supposed to be commander in chief, but if they don't tell him what's going on, I mean, how is he supposed to protect the country? And that's their main job. Well, it don't look too bad, Perez. I think we can let it go. Hey, man, you ain't got the right to call. Make that call. It's coming across the American homeland. You got to make a decision to go ahead and take it out before it gets here. I don't know. It's a scary time, especially if we lived on the West Coast. But now, I mean, if they're just going to let them drift on across, I mean, ain't no place in the U.S. safe. I don't know. I think there's a lot more to this than they're letting on. And I don't think you'll ever find a real true story about it. And that's bad. I think the American people can handle the true story, but if it's presented right. But you'll never hear from this crew we got up yonder. Well, y'all be good. Enjoy your week, why don't you? We'll talk to y'all later.